If there was like one role model of a farmer, it's a dairy farmer, because they take a piece of ground, usually they don't farm a whole bunch of ground. They take that piece of ground and they grow a crop to feed a cattle. And these guys are, what's the technical term if you're like really good with cattle? Like, are they a herdsman or something like that?
Yeah.
A herdsman? Fantastic herdsman. I mean, especially with the technology. I'm going to go tour a robotic dairy here soon. With that technology, it's like they can tell when the cow's probably got a headache.
Yep.
It's like, it's crazy how well taken care of these cows are.
Ever since I was a young boy, I've always loved the openness of the country. The rolling hills, fresh air, the starry night skies. I've always wanted to own my own pasture. Dairy farming is the career that interests me. This field has always interested me. Running a dairy farm comes with many costs and many responsibilities, but it certainly can be lived off of. The median pay for a dairy farmer, according to Salary.com, in Virginia is $42,818 a year. While that may be hard to support a family with, it's sure enough to get me by. And if that's what it takes to follow my dreams, so be it. Dairy farming, at surface level, may not seem like it's a mathematical job. They seem very simple, very hands-on, not much thinking. But in reality, math plays an important role in dairy farming. The financial planning of running a dairy farm is a given, but beyond that, effective milk production requires the use of statistical analysis to monitor and predict milk yield. Daily milk trends can be found with data analysis, which is crucial. Math allows dairy farmers to make informed decisions about their own farm's outputs and efficiency. I would like to think that my problem-solving skills, out-of-the-box thinking, mental fortitude, and malleable mind makes me a candidate for most jobs, but especially dairy farming, as those 4 qualities are essential when one is out there on the dairy farms. My aspirations of dairy farming will be attained, but today there are many steps to the journey that lies ahead of me. Today my job is not to milk cattle, to own a pasture, or breathe in that fresh air on an early morning out in the country. My job is to teach. It is imperative that I quiz my pre-calc classmate with a non-traditional, non-multiple choice quiz. That is the job that needs to be performed, and I am the man to do it.
But before creating an assessment for someone else, I must look within. I must reflect upon my own past assessments. I believe it was Fred Brooks who once said, "You can learn more from failure than success. In failure, you're forced to find out what part did not work. But in success, you can believe everything you did was great, when in fact some parts may not have worked at all. Failure forces you to face reality." And for that reason, I have chosen 2 quizzes to reflect upon, which I did not do very well in. My first quiz is from December 21st, 2023. It's on exponential functions. You can see that I did very poorly on this. I scored a 69. That's not a very good score, and that is barely passing. Here I learned that it's not always going to come easy. I learned some specific concepts after looking back and correcting my quiz. This quiz helps me remember concavity. I got the second question wrong, saying it was concave up because the rate of change increases as x goes on, when I was clearly wrong. I now know my difference between concave up and concave down, and how rate of change changes with concavity. Question 10 also helped me learn the property of negative exponents. Here is my second quiz. I took this one on April 23rd of 2024, and I got a 50. Here, this was on trig identities and equations. This quiz showed me that I needed to know my differences between period and frequency, and how to determine the equations of sinusoidal functions. And I also realized that I need to make sure I'm factoring everything out. That's something that needs to be done with every quiz, and it always needs to be remembered because it's an easy thing to overlook. It also taught me when you divide with trig identities, when you're trying to find when one trig identity equals another one, for which values on the unit circle, when you divide, you eliminate answer choices. It doesn't allow you to find all the values that you need to find. If I was allowed one thing to tell the people who are coming up to take pre-calc next, I would tell them to make sure they're studying every night. Make sure you're watching the AP videos, and make sure you're really staying on top of your work, because it is not a forgiving class. It's hard, and it's an advanced placement class, as it should be. It is hard. It's supposed to be hard. And don't be fooled, because just because it's pre-calculus doesn't mean it's going to be a jog in the park. Also memorize your unit circle. Here's the quiz I created on sinusoidal functions. All right, class, pencils down.
Oh, I'm down just in time.
All right, let's see what you got. So, as you can see here, a lot of the points that Vienne wrote on her quiz match up with the points that I made in the key. The amplitude, period, phase shift, vertical shift, all the same. The maximum minimum values of the function, all the same. The sketch is missing its points. However, the next question, all of the transformations are described accurately, and the period of the function is found, and the function is reflected just as the quiz wants it to be reflected. Here on the flip side of the quiz, we have our honors coursework questions, and most of the points are shared between the key and Vienne's work. The height of the rider after 1.5 minutes is accurate. The times when the rider will be 30 meters is accurate. The equations for the sinusoidal functions are different, but they mean the same thing. Hers is just not distributed all the way through. And for question 4, points A, B, and C, the answers are the same. So here we have her total grade, which is a 91.
No,
You passed.
Whoa! Really?
No way.
Gosh.
But don't fret, because if you hadn't, Koala's got your back. Our remediation plan has you have a 5-step process. Number 1, know the problem. Koala has a teacher assessing which problems the student got wrong, so they can't find any discrepancies in the student's aptitude. Number 2, one-on-one learning. One-on-one counseling between teacher and student allows the student to understand what they got wrong, ask questions, and move on to phase 3 seamlessly. What is phase 3, you ask? Attack practice.
Practice makes perfect. By practicing problems repeatedly, the student can really learn their stuff. Phase 4, learn your stuff. Attacking practice leads to learning the subject area so students can master it and tackle the next quiz with the knowledge they need to succeed. And phase 5, you're done. Call yourself remediated. Koala uses one-on-one learning and repetition to ensure that nobody comes away from a lesson without understanding it.
Math. What is math? Math is a construct. Numbers. Numbers reveal the hidden meaning of the universe. Numbers are the silent music of reason. In every equation, in every use of numbers, there's a story. A story that waits to be unfolded. A story untold. To grasp infinity is to glimpse eternity. And every theorem is a window to infinity. So, what is math? Is it just poetry? Poetry of logical ideas? Is it a pattern of numbers which reflect the soul of the cosmos? Does the language of math speak truth beyond words? The answer is yes and no. Because even the simplest yes or no reveals an ultimate complexity. An ultimate complexity which can only be solved with the numerous theorems that riddle day-to-day existence. The backdrop of the fabric that binds reality. It all starts with an abacus, a machine of intuitive design, so simple yet so complex, a scatter of beads stretched across a rod of possibility. One can imagine the beads as whatever they desire, conduits of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. The choices are endless. The abacus allows one's imagination to run free. The abacus represents every aspect of Montessorian philosophy, one which values freedom and creativity. I can recount my youngest days. I was but a small child, an empty receptacle to be enlightened with knowledge, which far exceeded my comprehension at the time. My attendance at the academic institution Ghent Montessori was a key factor in my intellectual upbringing. My earliest encounters with the subject of math specifically involved the division board. The Montessori ideology supports a physical approach to learning, using blocks and beads to portray units and shapes, to build a strong fundamental foundation for learning among youth, and to influence the use of imagination when thinking about abstract concepts. The division board was a perfect example of this. While math was never my subject of choice, I do recount enjoying manipulating the objects to match equations in first and second grade, when I would move on to fractions, which were portrayed via metal red pizza slices. Multiplication tables would be shown through rugs full of colors, with numbered tiles which I would move around. Eventually, I would move from lower elementary, which consisted of grades 1, 2, and 3, to upper elementary. There, my math would be improved upon greatly. The introduction of pre-algebra, balancing equations, and the notion of X enticed my curiosity. By now, math was abstract. Seldom was there any physical representation of the concepts I was learning. This threw me for a loop. But I adapted. In the self-paced environment of Ghent Montessori, I spent most of my time writing, but I filled my requirements for math.
In 7th grade, I would move on to Ghent Montessori Middle School, where I would take algebra for the first 2 years. The curriculum had us take an advanced algebra course over 2 years to ensure our basic understanding of the subject, rather than moving us on to geometry after algebra like many other curricula do. I feel that this allowed me to really truly understand and hone my basic algebra skills. Now, a student of Granby High School, my journey with mathematics has been only riveting. Geometry freshman year with Miss Simmons was only a precursor to the complexities that I would face in Algebra 2 and Precalculus. I could just smell the air of Mrs. Agarwal's room when I first learned the intricacies of factoring. The lights were dim. A light, gentle breeze passed through the room as the air conditioning hummed. The air was light. Its low viscosity emphasized the wispy atmosphere of the room. My breathing was effortless, as my lungs filled with the oxygen they needed to survive. To survive. What is to survive? To survive is to experience. And nothing can be experienced without knowledge. Math is the empirical measure of logical aptitude. It is the very concept of objectivity. One cannot experience anything without math, as it is the very basic essence of life. Albert Einstein once said, "Pure mathematics is the poetry of logical ideas." And I would consider myself a poet in more ways than one.
One pie, 2 pie, 3 pie, and 4. You want a piece of pie, you better ask for more. Unit circle gives, as long as you know it. Better know your angles, or else you're gonna blow it. We start with 2 pi, a 1 and a 0. Then we travel around the world just like a superhero. To the left on the circle, pi over 6, 4, 3. Now we're at the top, pi over you and me. 90 degrees, a 0 and a 1. We went 1/2 per sign, that's why, my son. Then square root of 2 right over its square. Square root of 3 over the syllables and repair. Now onto cosine, let's finish it out. First quadrant's all you need to test without doubt. Just switch it all around, 2 over square root of few. Square root of 2 over dose, and then a 1 over 2. 30, 45, 60, and 90. The first quadrant's done without an inquiry. Copy the coordinates all around, but each quarter were flipped. Quadrant 2 cosine is negative, change it to squared. Quadrant 4 shape up for y, sine has gone down under. Quadrant 3 we're double dipping, sine and cosine of blunders. Just remember your parents, 3 over 2, 1/2, square root of 2, 2 times, 1/2, 3 unsquared by that. Now you know your coordinates, let's get onto our radians. They may seem foreign, but these numbers are Canadians. After quadrant 1, we're at 2 pi over 3. We go 2 pi over 4, 5 over letters and debris. Pi 7 over 6, we 5 pi over 4. We got 4 pi over 3. We're at the circle's floor. We have 3 pi over 2, and 5 pi over 3. 7 pi over 2 times 2, 11 pi over me. If I was 6-year-old, that line didn't make sense, but now we're around the circle so that party can commence. If you've listened to this rap, then your learning is done. You got 99 problems, but that unit circle ain't one.
That concludes my presentation. Here's a copy of my log. For cover page purposes, my name is Noah Fournier. My bell is bell 3. Course name is AP Precalc, and title is AP Precalculus Final Exam Video Epic.